This is Polish Peter, and you're listening to episode 90 of Immigrant Masters Unite. Do you know how to run successful virtual events? Or maybe you're an entrepreneur or business owner, and because of COVID, you had to pivot into doing more virtual events. And maybe you have a skill set that you don't know how to use, and virtual events would actually be a really good idea for you to start doing so you can start making money for yourself and your family. Hi, this is Polish Peter, and welcome to another amazing episode of Immigrant Masters Unite, when immigrants unite and transform lives. And on this particular episode, I have Miroslav Beck, who is originally from Czech Republic. He came here in 1997 for a 6-month work opportunity. Now, after he got here and landed in the airport, he's going to share with you guys that actually ended up being a scam. So he was left with only $200 in his pocket. He invested about $140 in the bus ticket to Tampa. And as they say, rest of it is history. However, this journey wasn't that easy. And he shares some of the journey with us on this particular podcast. But what I want you guys to listen to is, I don't care what business you're in or what you're up to. Virtual events right now are something that is is powerful, right? And a lot of businesses are using it. And I think virtual events are here to stay. And I think they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and better. And I think we are still at the initial stages of figuring out this entire virtual event world. I think it's going to grow and it's going to explode over the next few years, even if we get back into the live events. I think it's actually going to end up being a split between live and virtual events, and we're going to integrate them together for that. So Mira shared a lot of great strategies, tactics, what to buy, what to do when you're just starting out when it comes to virtual events, how you set up your studio, what you should probably start with, how to manage those events, what are some strategies, some good and bad things about running virtual events, which you should be avoiding. These are some really good things that he shared on this particular episode. But one thing that I really encourage you guys to listen to is towards the end, I asked him about the Overnight Success Studios. It's one of his companies that he owns, that he actually helps people bring their products, their skill set to the world through video, right? And virtual events. And what does it mean to be overnight success? And the answer may surprise some of you guys. Some of you will already know that this is what it is. But I think it's an important thing to discuss because there's so much misinformation out there that's preventing people from actually being successful. And I'll tell you guys what that is when that time comes. So without further ado, here is Miroslav Beck, originally from Czech Republic. So, hey, Miroslav, thank you so much, man, for coming on to the podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I'm so happy to be here. And after our pre-chat, I'm so excited about our conversation now that's being recorded. So that's fun.
Yeah, I really like it, man. And one of the things that I like talking to you about is your walk to come over here to the United States and what you were able to accomplish. So share a little bit with the audience, like your, coming to America story.
Totally, yeah. So, going with the immigrant theme, I am originally from the Czech Republic, and I lived there for my first 22 years. So, it's not like I was brought in here when I was a baby or whatever. I lived through the communism up to 89, and then when the Velvet Revolution happened, I still got 4 more years of the initial wave of entrepreneurship and McDonald's coming in and like all these different brands that were not allowed in before 1989. So I kind of seen both sides, and then I decided to come to United States basically as a 6-month work opportunity that I found ad in the newspaper offering this job in Texas, disassembling some old oil towers. And at that time, I used to go to a local pub in my hometown, and it was up for sale. And the amount of money the guy wanted for it was about the equivalent of what I would make in those 6 months. So at that time, for me, like imagine like owning a piece of real estate, a whole building with, you know, a pub in it that's producing income and all that stuff. And I could just own it outright just to work hard for 6 months. So that was a big drive for me. But, you know, I found that ad, it was like last minute. It was like I was one of the last people that actually was, you know, allowed to come. But at that time I didn't have a passport, I didn't have a visa, I didn't have a plane ticket, I didn't have the money because I needed like $3,000 cash to bring with me for the work permit. So I scrambled within 48 hours. I went from seeing the ad to being basically on the plane first time in my life from Prague to Zurich, and from Zurich to JFK to start on my American dream, you know, for 6 months. So that's how it started. And, you know, after that, I don't know how, you know, deep you want me to go into the story, but it really turned out that this whole thing was just big fat scam.
Right.
I ended up in New York with $3,000 in my pocket plus extra $200 that my dad gave me. The agency that brought us in, it was just all fake. They took us to a fake office, took the money, and basically
the
left
$3,000,
us
right?
in New York. You know, so
they took that $3,000.
They took the $3,000, and it was a group of 8. Initially, it was actually a group of 120 people, but they split us into groups of 8. So I had, you know, 7 other guys with me basically at that point. Most of them wanted to go back. A couple of the other guys decided to stay. So we went back to the airport and, you know, got the other 5 guys on the plane back to Czech. But for me, it was like, you know, imagine $3,000. I used to make $2,500 back in 1997 as a manager at McDonald's. So $2,500 per year. Yes.
Right.
Yes. So $3,000. My dad had to sell his car because that was the only asset we had in our family. Well underpriced because he had to do it basically by the next day, and that was the only way I could get the money. So, you know, at that time, since I was 22 years old, I figured, you know, I mean, it's kind of burning the bridges scenario where I'm still young, restless. I got all the energy and the health I needed. So I just burned the bridge because for me, the fear of going back to that pub I was going to buy, and instead coming back in 48 hours, letting everybody know how I got all my money stolen away from me. And I know my whole American trip for 6 months lasted 48 hours. I'm telling you, they still be making fun of me till today, and that will still be the same story we'll be saying every, you know, Friday and Saturday for the last 22 years. So the fear of going back and the embarrassment in front of my friends was stronger than the fear of the unknown, because at that time, like, you know, I didn't know what to do. It was the day before Thanksgiving when we arrived. It was on Thanksgiving when we got, you know, basically robbed, if you will. And then with the $200 I had, like the only knowledge at that point I had was from the same paper, knowing that there were other jobs in Florida, in hospitality, in New Jersey, in construction. So I called a couple numbers. The New Jersey one, I mean, I just got a voicemail because it was Thanksgiving and I didn't want to wait any longer. So we really, between the 3 guys, decided to go to Tampa, Florida, because at that point I was like, if I'm going to sleep under a tree, it might as well be on the beach under a palm tree, not somewhere up in New York. You know, so that's what we did. It was $140 for the bus ticket, and I had $60 left, and, you know, took the 2 or 3 day ride down to Florida. And luckily, you know, we ended up getting to a hotel in Orlando, and found somebody who spoke Czech, because at that time none of us spoke English. And we found a guy that hooked us up with another guy that was supplying labor basically to all the hotels in Florida. And within a week of landing, I was working, but not making the $6,000 to $8,000 a month that the ad was promising. I was making $5.50 an hour, which you know, adds up to about 18-hour day to make $100 bill. So that's what I was doing. I was working from 6 a.m. till midnight, as many hours as I could possibly get, and that's you know, that was the beginning of this journey for me.
Man, I love that story, because one of the things that I hear from you saying is that sounds to me like that initial drive, fear was driving you, right? A lot of people back away from the fear. They don't want to deal with it. But for you, sounds to me like the fear of like the unknown of going back. That's what drove you to actually go to make things happen.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I don't know if it's age and stuff, but if you don't have a family or kids to rely on you and all of that stuff, you just make you take more risks. And, if I was faced with the exact same situation today, I don't know if I would have taken it. But at that time, I had my backpack with things I needed and nobody, no kids and no family to take care of. It was just me. So it's pretty easy to, be a risk taker when you don't have, any responsibilities at that time. But it all worked out, the way it was supposed to. And I still do posts on my Facebook every Thanksgiving thanking those bastards for stealing my money and getting me here, because without them, none of this would happen,
That's
so
true.
all the good stuff, none of it would have happened if it wasn't for the ad and their little scheme that got them, $360,000 back in the day. That was a lot of money back then. But
exactly. So they actually post thank you, bastards.
Pretty much. I think that's, I'm thankful for the bastards that got me here. I think it's the exact sentence. But if anybody's connected on Facebook or whatever, I repost the same thing every Thanksgiving. Just as a tradition, and it's fun. But that's basically the same version of the story I just told. Yeah.
So tell us right now, where you at right now? What does your life look like right now? What's going on?
So right now, I am basically running an AV company that provides technical support for seminar producers to put on live events. So all the speakers and projectors and screens and sound recordings, everything you need basically to put on a live event, record it and turn it into a product. That's what we do, along with a studio that I built basically to be able to serve people that are not ready yet to do a live event with audiences and just want to do something in front of a camera to record a course and digitize their knowledge. Now, of course, pre-COVID, we did about 80 events a year. Post-COVID, we got shut down basically mid-March of 2020. And I went from, 80 events a year to 0. So we had to adjust a little bit. So part of our studio is actually a virtual event setup where we have people come in to deliver their information and their seminar, except all the people are in front of them on Zoom, on giant TVs, so they can still interact with their audiences and run it as a live event, but in a virtual environment. So those are the two main businesses that I'm running currently, and it's definitely been a blast.
Awesome, very cool, man. So listen, I want to dive in a little bit to that, because a lot of entrepreneurs right now are probably, depending on their business, actually, they're probably looking, okay, events, should I do some virtual events? Or, some of them may have been doing. I mean, we have done a ton of live events prior to COVID, and then we had to adjust. We had to pivot to go into the virtual stuff. So would you mind sharing some of your experiences and some of them maybe, I'll call it the keys to success to running a virtual event?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of time, a lot of the clients that we had, some froze and they were like, okay, I'm not going to do any more events till COVID is over. And some, decided that they need to pivot real quick and do something. So I would say, there are different scenarios for different people. So on the very, very low level, you can use Zoom and basically sit in your house and deliver the information to people that are on the other side. But that really is, at this point, I feel that people are used to a little bit higher quality production for seminars. So especially if it's paid event or multi-day event, just doing it from home, I think it's really kind of underserving the audience. And I have noticed that when we do events now for clients from our space or from a hotel, because in some states we can still do live seminars now, the conversion is much higher. So it is definitely worth the investment into something that's more high-end and it actually looks like real virtual event environment and event space rather than your living room or your home office, because the conversion, people just I think personally that people take it more seriously. They like the production value is higher, and so when you present them the offer to join your coaching or mastermind, your buy your course or whatever you're offering, I think people just take it more seriously, or they the level of production kind of matches the price point as well. And I literally had a client here that has been delivering his monthly presentations every single month from his house. And then the first time he came in here, he doubled his conversion, and he didn't change anything. He didn't touch his presentation. He didn't touch his marketing. Everything was the same. The only variable was the environment, and he doubled it. So I really believe that people should consider at least, stepping up the production value. You don't have to go like Tony Robbins with his, 360 arena that costs $7 million to build, but you can still put on a little bit of a better show.
I think that's the epitome of the live show. I mean, the virtual show, Tony Robbins. I mean, that's like way out there, right?
Yeah. So, and it's awesome, but if you have 14,000 people you need to show, then you need to have a solution like that. But most people, 90+% of events are less than 100 people. So if you think about that, then, most people need just a simple solution. And whether it's something that they do at home, get a big TV to plug in the Zoom into, get a camera, put it above the TV so they can kind of still have the interaction and people can see them. That's all fine. Or, there's plenty of places like mine popping around the country that actually provide that solution where you just show up and do your thing and you don't have to worry about the technical stuff. So, definitely a lot of solutions. But as far as there are some different variables. Of course, with virtual events, it's really hard to keep people's attention for as long as you can during live in-person events. So, if your event normally was 8 hours, 10 hour long, with bonus evening sessions like a lot of people do, all of that is perfect when you have people in person, but doing it virtually, that's a stretch. So I would definitely suggest to, lowering the amount of hours that you do per day. And possibly if you have a 3-day event and you can shrink it down to 2 days, that's great, but having maybe like 4 to 5 hours a day versus 8 to 10 would probably go a long way. Yeah. And there's a lot of education. Like you need to pre-frame a lot of this information to people, because if you think about it, the live event, again, they're there, their family's not there, their kids are not running around, their phone is not ringing, they don't have all the distractions that they have at home. So really making a point during the registration process that they should let their family know that they're going to be doing this and ask for their support. So maybe get a babysitter, maybe the spouse can take care of the kids. There could be some other options, but doing it in advance versus, basically reacting when the event starts. Same thing with, your business. Having maybe auto reply message so you don't get a bunch of emails that get unanswered and phone calls that are disruptive. So you can help people to prep for the event in this way so they can prep their environment. And also, always tell them, like, get a pen and paper, get something where you can take notes, and don't be on your, computers with multiple windows open, researching and typing emails and stuff while you're trying to watch this in the background. Like, really pay attention. That's the difference between people actually getting something out of the event and not getting really anything out of it, So those are just kind of the logistics. And then the second step is going to be educating people on the technology. So if you're going to use Zoom, Zoom has definitely some resources on some troubleshooting and kind of how to set stuff up. So you can just take that resource and send it to people in advance. If you use something else, Hop and Hoova, like there's plenty of solutions, but whatever solution you're using, I would always say, give people assume they know absolutely nothing about technology. Assume they don't even know how to plug in a webcam into a computer, and give them a step-by-step guidelines on what to press, where to go, if it needs a password, if it doesn't need a password. But that will save you a lot of time on support calls, support emails, support chats, and you can, really save the resources for something more important than helping people get online and get on Zoom. Yeah. So that would be the second thing. And then the third thing I'm just gonna mention briefly is the engagement. Like, you really wanna go kind of above and beyond again with the experience. So let's say people show up in person, you would give them t-shirt or binder with a pen or whatever. So if it's far enough in advance and you charge enough for the ticket, like some of these things you cannot do for free tickets or $97 ticket, but you charge $9.97 or more for a ticket to the event, you can send them a box of goodies and some swag. You can send them a little, paddle with smiley face and frowny face, or a thumb up and thumb down. So when you are actually doing the event, you can always tell them, hey, raise your hand if you agree with this or that, whatever, or give me thumb up if you agree with whatever. And then you can see all these people in front of you on Zoom participating and using the stuff you send them. If you're going to have a VIP lunches, maybe find a restaurant that's like national chain and send them a gift card to have, Uber Eats delivered or something during that time.
We're going to get right back into this episode. But before we do, I have a question for you. What if you are just one conversation away from living the life you truly want and deserve? Have you ever had a conversation that made an impact on you? Like, are you ready for another one? Hi, this is Polish Peter. And as you know, I'm a transformational coach and I help people have those kinds of conversations that will transform their life, that will have an impact on their life. And I want to offer you that today for free, no catch. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I do these one conversation away conversations and help people get the life they truly want. Help them provide some kind of a breakthrough for their life and themselves. So if you want to have the breakthrough, you want to take a chance on yourself to have that kind of a conversation, head over to oneconversationaway.com. That's oneconversationaway.com. And there's a short form on there. Fill out that form just so we can be on the same page, so I know what you're looking for, how I can help you, how I can support you, what kind of questions I can want to ask that will have you have a breakthrough in your life. So oneconversationaway.com, head over there right now. And well, actually after this episode is over. So finish listening to the episode and head over to oneconversationaway.com. And I'll see you on a Zoom meeting coming up and then one of the future Thursdays at 1 p.m. All right, let's get back to the episode. So I'm Miroslav. So listen, there's some really good tips, man, that you're sharing. And I totally agree, because I think one of the biggest things is engagement on these virtual events is really important, because since the COVID hit, we started doing more of the virtual events. So engagement is important. The setup is, pretty important as well. And I've noticed that. So for someone who is just starting out, like they have a Zoom and that's all they have, nothing else, what would you say would be the first things that they should be like looking to upgrade?
That's a great question. So, because it really will be budget driven. So if you go from the lowest thing, like as long as they have a computer and a webcam, they can basically go. Like it's, that is the bare minimum. Now, my first thing I would upgrade would most likely be a camera and a good microphone. So you can really get good quality. Because also, one thing to consider, if you're going to repurpose the information, having a good camera that you can record into in high definition is going to give you better quality than what Zoom is recording for you. Or even if you do internal recording, it's still not going to be the same quality because Zoom has to compress it to keep the file sizes down. So I would say camera and a good microphone would be awesome. And a couple of lights. I would definitely say, lighting is one of the biggest variables. I mean, with good light, even cheap camera is going to look great. With bad light, even the most expensive camera is going to look like crap. So that is definitely important. You can use always existing sources. You can use stuff that you already have around the house. But if you don't, for $300, you can buy 3 nice LED lights to create nice 3-point lighting and have a really good light. So it's not as expensive as it used to be. I bought my first light kit, for my studio for almost $3,000, and there were only 3 lights in it.
Wow.
And they were not even LEDs. They were hot, and it was just, horrible. So the technology has definitely evolved. A lot of times, if, people do, kind of Zoom calls or lives and stuff, your phone, I always tell people you have everything you need in your pocket, because technically if you put your phone on some sort of tripod and prop it up and you within 2 or 3 feet, the microphone that's in it already will have a very clear sound. And the picture, I don't know if the newest phones are 4K or if it's still 1080, but either way, it's really good quality and it's sufficient enough. Now, for someone who wants to really run all day long events, multi-day events, and they want to do it on their own, then, of course, at that level, I would assume they have a little bit of money to upgrade their equipment and just, put some money into it a little bit. So for those people, I would say on the basic level, I would, get a really good computer that can run the Zoom rooms at the 50 or 49 people instead of 25. So you can get 50 people on the screen instead of half of that. Maybe buy one or two, 70-inch TVs so you can kind of put it in front of you in whatever space you're prepping. Get one camera or even multiple cameras and a switcher if you can have some help, somebody actually switching it live. And then set up your background, set up some sort of either prop it with some furniture or, get we have 86-inch TVs that are so big that you can literally stand in front of it from the waist up and cut the corners of the TV out. And it looks like basically a green screen. You can change the background to anything you want and it looks really good, but you don't have to cut the TV out. You can go wide shot and you can see the whole TV with whatever image, branding stuff you have on it. And then you can put some uplights maybe on the side or under the TV. And I would just say, make the environment, look like it's a professional environment. And plus, it's going to be so good for your energy. I've noticed people saying sometimes, well, virtual is not the same as being on the stage, in the live ballroom at a hotel. But it's so not true. When I'm speaking, when you have 3 TVs and 150 people right in front of you, not in multiple rows, but right in front of you, and the spotlights in your eyes, and it's live on Facebook or Zoom or whatever, and people are participating, so it's not like recording where you can stop and self-edit yourself and take another take. Whatever. You have that same pressure that you would have on the stage, and the energy and everything else is, to me, virtually identical from what I've experienced myself. So I would definitely, for people that have been considering maybe virtual events and are coming up with all these objections, excuses, reasons not to do it, this may be possibly being one of them, saying it's not going to be the same. I can pretty much guarantee you, once you stand in front of all these people in some sort of virtual environment, you're gonna feel the energy and all that stuff the same way. So virtual events are awesome. But again, for people that really maybe are possibly considering doing something like that and they need some help, if I don't know if you mind if they contact me or reach out to me so I can actually give them personal consultation to help them design something custom, that's fine. If not, there's plenty of resources, tutorials, videos out there that people can look up on setting up home studios. And there are a ton of resources now because it's becoming sort of mainstream. A lot of my clients are asking me to set up their home studios because they see the need of running monthly or quarterly events. And the overhead doing it from home, even if you spend $10,000, $20,000 on a nice setup, it's still going to be fraction to what you have to pay at a hotel for the room rental and food and beverage and all the other stuff, right? Yeah. So, you do a ton of events, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, man. I will definitely leave your contact information at the end of the episode for people if they want to reach out to you and contact you. I got a question for you. As far as the setup of it, how much is it? How do I ask this? How much is it supposed to be your personality? Should you have personality in that setup or be just professional, right? Personality, let's say, since I'm Polish, man, how much of that personality should be in my background or my company personality or culture or whatever, so it actually aligns with what you're saying. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's really, that's a personal preference to me. If it needs to be branded because, you're going to be delivering an event on certain topic or something. So if you don't think that, anything that screams, Polish Peter should be there, then don't put it in there. But that's your name. You're known by that. If you wanted to, put something in there into the design, you totally can. I've seen a lot of people having, bookshelves with some memorabilia or things that mean something to them to personalize the environment. And I don't see anything wrong with that. So the only time something, there could be a little clash is I know people that have a brand, business, company, whatever, and then they trying to get into personal development, and they want to teach something that's completely different, like two totally different brands. And sometimes mixing the brands in the same space confuses people. So, if you're going to be selling donuts with one company, but then you want to be a motivational speaker like Tony Robbins with the other company, it would be probably tough to incorporate that into one set. But the beauty with virtual sets, and like I was mentioning, like the TVs and using digital technology, is that you can change the branding, you can change the light colors, you can change the image on the TV. You can virtually change the whole look and feel of it with click of a button without spending a ton of money. So
cool. All right. My next question is, you've run a lot of the events since the COVID hit, the virtual events. What are some like unique, odd, or like things that stand out from you from some of these speakers that they've done?
Well, as far as, I mentioned already a lot of the different nuances that are different between the in-person and the virtual. I would say a lot of times they don't do breaks. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that you don't want to give people 90 minutes, to run away from the computer and do whatever. You want to keep them together. With the virtual events, a lot of people have like a DJ that's remotely connected, sometimes in person. But it's a nice touch to have for the virtual audiences to have that piece of entertainment. And for live events, a lot of times people don't want to spend the money because, it costs a lot. But a lot of time, like now, all the DJs are stuck at home pretty much and looking for job opportunities. So I'm sure you can get a DJ for fraction of the cost virtually than it would have cost. Nice touch. And the engagement itself, like you really do want to have hot seats and talk to people, calling them out by name. So when you actually get in front of the Zoom room and you see all the people, saying hi to them individually, or saying that if you see something, commenting on their clothes or whatever, like just something so they know that you're watching them and you're seeing them. Because it's funny how sometimes you see people, or sluggish and, on their phone or whatever, and then you call their name and suddenly they're like perk up and they're like, oh my God, he's actually watching me and he sees my name. So I think that's one little tip that that people can consider. But other than that, it's it's kind of a same agenda typically and business as usual. So
just start testing it out, right, and start running the different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So listen, I got another question for you. So on the back of your monitor, it says Overnight Success Studios, right?
Yeah.
Speak a little bit about that name. How did you come up with it? I'm curious.
So that's a great question. Thanks for asking that, because a few years ago, since you're in real estate, you probably know Robert Allen. And so I coached with him for this program that basically is like a done for you, or done with you, I should say, because there was about 20 of us in the program. But there was done with you book and the whole business around the book. So Bob was really good at, he's got like 11 or 12 best-selling books on real estate and money and wealth. And so he was basically showing us how to build a business around your knowledge. So what I ended up doing, I actually never finished the book during the course, but I did come up with the title. And I have a book basically that's in progress now called Overnight Success, Wake Up and Be Successful, which the original title used to be Overnight Success and the 17 years leading up to the night. Yeah. So that was one of those, subtitles. But so I named it, and I knew that overnight success was a cliche, but I also didn't want to do anything with American Dream because there's, dozens of books with that title. And Overnight Success, coincidentally, there was nothing except the story of FedEx from a couple decades ago. So I didn't have much of a competition. So for the research and the title and, all that stuff, it kind of met the criteria. The only problem was overnight success is kind of a cliche when you take it as just the name itself. So as I was thinking more through that process, I was like, how do I tie the overnight success to this if I'm going to drop the 17 years leading up to the night and all that? And what I realized really is that overnight success is a moment. It's a decision, like, you have new client for your mastermind. They show up to the first meeting. They have, list of action items they want to do. They set goals. They have a plan. They do all of that, and then they get home and they hit the ground running Monday morning and start implementing the plan. That to me is already success. Now, implementing everything and putting stuff in place to make the millions of dollars and get the financial freedom or travel freedom or health, whatever, those are results that will come as a, after you take the steps and implement the plan. But most people never get to that decision point. Most people never decide to be successful.
Right.
So really, overnight success for me or the definition of overnight success is the moment when you make the decision to be successful. Everything else is just mechanics and implementing strategies and just doing the work.
I agree.
So that's where it came from. And then with the studio, again, I wanted to stay on brand. So I actually designed a system for people to come into our studio for one day and leave literally with their course in their hand on a flash drive.
Awesome.
So, we do some planning prior to that, but then we have, we shoot. And then once module 1 is done being shot, then we hand it over to the editor, he edits it. So we kind of go back and forth. And instead of for people waiting several months or sometimes, 3-4 months, like a lot of studios do, we just have the system dialed in so much that I can literally, if somebody has their funnel ready and they have all the missing pieces in place, they can leave here and virtually by the next day, they can press the button to launch their funnel to sell their course, and they will have everything in their membership site uploaded.
Awesome.
So that I was just trying to fit, again, within the overnight success brand. So it's not overnight success and takes 3 months to get it. So that
Listen, I love your definition of the overnight success. You mentioned like it's the decision, right? When you make the decision, the choice that you make to actually make it happen. So I'm curious, do you remember your overnight success? When was that decision for you? Do you remember that?
Yeah. I have several turning points in my life where I made some massive changes. As far as the pivoting moment where I said I made a decision, I didn't think about it that far. I should probably think about it because, of course, I came up with this afterwards where I was already running businesses and I had, I was on the path to success, but I didn't have anybody that's told me this, like, hey, you need to decide to be successful. So
right.
In that case, I don't think that I basically went through the same thing I would put my clients through now that I know what I know. But I have to tell you, like, I had a couple of moments where, like, I was at the time, I had my kids were little, I was obviously playing with them on the floor. They were just crawling around and stuff like that. And I caught myself, I was, stressed out, eating like crazy, way overweight, like 20, 30 pounds. And I had this moment where I literally was sitting on the couch. And in my mind, I had to plan my moves to be able to get up. Like literally like lean forward a little bit, push yourself forward, and then catch the momentum to stand up, whatever.
Yeah.
And I still remember it like it was yesterday. I was like, something needs to change. So that would have been like the moment where I decide to go and actually work on my health and join a gym and start eating better and all that stuff. So I remember that moment. And it was one that was financial, like on my son's first birthday. It was before the last recession we had, like, that we had in whatever, 2007, 8, whatever. And I remember all my credit card maxed out, no money in the bank. And I'm literally going to the bank with all the shame, with a credit card check to get advance on my credit card so I can buy a couple of toys and cake or whatever for my son's first birthday. And that was another moment where I was like, I don't ever want to be in a situation like this again. And, these types of painful moments are really good drive when you start slipping away a little bit and getting lazy again a little bit and, not really doing kind of the things you decided you're going to do. To snap you right back on track because feeling that pain still, I can still feel how I felt, 12 years ago today when I started thinking about it.
I think that's important because I think that happens a lot for people in those moments of decision, the moments of choice, I think happens in the hardest times, because you finally come to realization, like, what the hell, how do I get here? Something's got to change and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. And I keep talking about it on my show. For me, it was when the divorce thing for me in 2011. That was like something has to change. What the heck is going on here? Yeah. So let me ask you this: what do you think is the because you've been successful in life, you are successful in life. What do you think is the reason for it? Like, what was the reasons that got you to where you're at?
Well, for me, it was really, and I'm sure that a lot of people that are listening to are in the same boat, because as an immigrant, first of all, when I came here, my very first gut feeling, I didn't even speak English, and I felt this entitlement mentality that a lot of people have. And I basically really kind of, caught on that really quickly and decided early on that, think about it, just like in your case, right? You come here, you leave your family behind. Like my family, or my sisters and brothers and their kids now, everybody lives in the Czech Republic still. So I'm here by myself, have my 2 kids here. And I cannot imagine just being lazy or entitled, or just if you already take the sacrifice of leaving everything behind, I would really have to say, I would be damned to not do something with my life and try to break through the background of my parents being factory workers and just having this old-time mentality of just saving money and not taking any risks and not being entrepreneurs and all of that stuff. So I'm first generation entrepreneur, first generation here, and I just want to build some sort of wealth, and even multi-generational wealth if I can. So my kids can have just totally different, launching platform. They don't have to start from scratch. But that being said, my newest thing that I'm kind of pondering on and have some feelings around is, what if I do accomplish this? What if I build 2-3 generations of wealth and put stuff in place and, investments and things like that? Mm-hmm. And then what if I don't educate my kids on how to manage it?
Right.
And if they just, one day when I'm done, they inherit everything, and within 6 months they blow it all, and they're back to, and all this was for nothing. So that's really is my new thing, is really focusing on, my kids now being 12 and 13. I'm trying to instill in them a lot of things financially and health wise, and just dreaming bigger and thinking bigger and stuff like that, because that's one of my biggest fears now really is, what would happen if I, keep breaking my back and working around the clock 7 days a week and, really killing myself over this. And then the next generation is just going to blow it and, in a few months, and it's over. So I think it's a big kind of responsibility, and that's kind of the new problem.
I love what you're saying, because I see this happen a lot as our why. It starts to develop, it starts to evolve, especially with different stages of our lives. Like my why over the past year even has completely evolved to a whole new level than it was a year ago, right? Yeah. And that's what keeps you driving, keeps you going. And I love that you mentioned about the fact that, I am breaking that pattern of the generational kind of a thing, right? Yeah. And that's good, but at the same time, I need to educate my generations to be able to actually take that on. And that is freaking awesome. That's
absolutely.
Very cool.
I just did a seminar a few weeks ago, and there was, I forgot his name. I would love to give him credit for it, but it was like a sports coach guy was teaching some stuff about leadership and whatever. But one of the things he said was, success without succession is a failure. And that really struck me, because that's already what I was thinking about. And that's exactly what it is. Like, if you have a success, but there's no succession after that, then it really, and it's going to end up being a failure. So very interesting quote. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So listen, I want to make sure I respect your time and the audience here. And so I'm going to go to my Polish Peter's final round here. So my first question is, what book would you recommend? Is there a book that kind of had an impact on you, or something that you're reading right now, or?
Yeah, so the biggest book that I've read now 5 times, and I read every single year, or I'll probably skip the last 2 years, but I'm going to get back to it now that I said it out loud, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Because, if you really think about it, a lot of the stuff from, Jim Rohn to Tony Robbins, so pretty much anybody that's teaching anything today, you can kind of trace a lot of the stuff back to that book. And the reason I read that book is because every time you read it, you find something totally brand new that your mind was not ready to receive yet the last time you read it. So that's why this book, I know people have read it 20 times and they still find new things in it. So definitely read that one. And then the latest one I just finished was Atomic Habits.
Yes.
Forgot who wrote that, but the thing that stood out for me on that was the doing something, a little bit of something every day will, accumulate. And now, when I have a down day and I want to do, 50 push-ups and I just don't feel like doing 50 before bed, whatever, like knowing that even 10 is better than 0, or knowing that, the 2-mile walk is going to be better than not doing it at all, even if I'm running out of time and I'm meant to do 5 or whatever. Reading 10 pages of a book instead of not reading at all if I can read, for an hour. Like all of those things just now got me to the mindset where I feel like there would be days where I would skip some of these activities, but I do at least a little bit of it just because that message is still in my head. But yeah, the Atomic Habits, I listened to it on Audible and it was very easy to listen.
Yep.
And a lot of great things. So
those are 2 great books. In fact, that Think and Grow Rich is the book that got me to where I'm at today. I truly believe it because that's the first entrepreneurial kind of a mindset, kind of a personal development book I ever read. And I was like, what? Yeah. Right? So, all right. My next question for you is Czech Republic. Is there something that you want to share with the audience that they might not know about, whether it's a custom or a place or a saying or food, whatever it might be?
Of course. Yeah. So Czech, before I came here, I lived in Prague for 2 years and I loved that city. I didn't get tired of it after 2 years living there. And every time I go back, I visit. And, knowing as many people as I know now that I've talked to about traveling, a lot of people either has Prague on their list of places to visit or they've been there. And the feedback so far has been that Prague is by far the most beautiful city in the world compared to all the other cities they visited. And now hearing it for over 20 years, I really feel like it's not as biased as it would have been if it was just me saying it. So if you've never been to Prague, put it on your list, go to Prague, go visit. It's beautiful. And then once you're in Prague or in Czech in general, make sure you try the fried cheese sandwich if you're doing it buying it on a street corner, or a fried cheese with potatoes or French fries if you're doing it in a pub or a restaurant. But the fried cheese is something that's very unique to Czech, and I've never had it at any other place around the world. So it's really awesome. And of course, Czech beer. Oh my, come on. So the Pilsner Urquell, you can buy it easily even here. But
did you just say Czech beer? Oh, come on, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the original Pilsner. It's still the best beer in the world. And, I like to try new beers and all these IPAs and all that stuff. That's, microbreweries that are very popular here. But I mean, you try, that original Pilsner that came from Pilsen in Czech is still what started a lot of the stuff. So
awesome.
Definitely try it.
All right, cool, man. I will have to, Prague is a beautiful city, man. It's something to check out for sure. Next question. I believe that every single person in the world has a superpower. What's yours?
After all these years of working with people, I really believe that my superpower is listening to somebody about their business for a few minutes and be able to clearly see, what they need to do for the next year to get where they need to get, and how to, add more money to their business or how to restructure things. So I love doing that. First of all, these strategy sessions that give me, the ability to help them, but it doesn't take me long to be able to help somebody. And that really, I think at this point, is my superpower.
All right. Very cool. I love that, man. I think that's an important, be able to see that and actually create a plan. Because one thing is seeing it, but the other way is actually being able to create it and clearly show them how to do that. It's a whole other story. So that's a great superpower. Right.
Yeah.
And a couple of sentences kind of thing. What would you say to someone who is wanting to, go after a business, be an entrepreneur? What piece of advice would you give him?
Someone who is coming from like the different worlds around corporate, whatever, they want to be an entrepreneur. That's a really good question. So, well, do it. Obviously, I would definitely tell them to do it first, because if they have a passion for something, they want to make a business out of something, definitely do it. But if you're going to do it, just be passionate about it and be ready to work hard for a while. because in the beginning, this is not a 4-hour work week. Like it is day in, day out. It's 7 days a week, and you better be living and breathing it and have the support around yourself, whether it's family members, your spouse or whatever, or having a coach or having someone who already gone where you want to go. And right out of the gate, before anything else, I would totally invest into that. Like assuming that people have a little bit of money saved up or something, they can invest into this venture, because starting with zero money, that would really be tough, and you're going to have to do some grassroots stuff. But if you can, have the opportunity to join a coaching program or mastermind, or have a coach or mentor that can shave several years of the curve,
that's a great...
that would definitely be what I would go for. That would be my advice.
All right, I agree, man. Listen, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, get to know you, maybe work with you, how would they do that?
I mean, through social media, you can definitely find me on Facebook under Miroslav Beck. And I think Instagram, we have some stuff under Mira, Mira _Beck, BECK. But I'm just going to give you my email that I use for everybody else and for my clients as well. So you can email me at Mira, Mira, at B as in boy, E as in Edward, CK, A as in Apple, V as in Victor.com. Mira at beckav.com. If you just shoot me an email and tell me that you heard this interview and either want to talk, then we can just set up 30 minutes to chat, and I'll be happy to help with anywhere I can. If you have any questions I can answer via email, I can do that as well. But I do love meeting new people and having these conversations. So I'm all for, like, if somebody really wants to talk to me about any of their business strategies or putting on virtual events or live events in general, or their course, things like that, just reach out to me, Mira at beckav.com. I'll be happy to chat with you.
Awesome, man. Well, Miroslav, thank you so much, man, for being on this podcast. I really appreciate it. Man, thank you for sharing what you've shared, because I think it's going to be helpful to the audience. For those of you listening on the podcast, I so appreciate you as well, because guess what? Without you listening, I wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't be able to do this, right? So I'm grateful for you. If you are finding this podcast somewhere out on the internet, come back to mastersunite.com, mastersunite.com. That's where all the episodes are. And we are on iTunes and Spotify and all the good things. Love to see reviews from you guys to tell me, hey, this is a great podcast, love it. Or, man, you Paul, like you suck, whatever it might be. Give me some feedback, and I appreciate it. So until the next time, this is Polish Peter from Immigrant Masters Unite. Talk to you guys next time.
Thanks for having me, Peter.